Wake up! Stop setting a potato team in your league where your whole league mates thinks you're dog water, thinks that you are just garbage, caca-doo-doo, the brown smears on a butthole. Stop it. Stop it. There's aspects of fantasy football. In this video, we're going to show you how to take the steps to create the perfect lineup. So if you're in trouble, sit back, relax, grab some popcorn, smash the like button on the video, and let's get into it. All right, let's calm down and start going over... Wait, who are you?
Hi everyone, I'm just here to ask questions.
Okay, but do you have a name?
I don't really have a name, so you can just call me Mr. Football.
All right, Mr. Football, just sit over there and hang out while I talk to the people that need help. Let's start going over the quarterback position and what you should be looking out for. I mean, you want a quarterback with a high passing floor. Ask yourself,
can my quarterback get at least 250 yards passing this week?
The last thing you need is for your quarterback to put up pedestrian numbers. I mean, number two, right? Next, let's just start looking for a high passing ceiling, right? Ask yourself,
can my quarterback reach 350 yards passing this week?
Right, Mr. Football. I mean, these are premier quarterbacks that can single-handedly win you a week. Now, lastly, is there a high rushing floor, right, that you can depend on? Just ask yourself,
can my quarterback get at least 35 yards rushing?
If your quarterback can have an adequate baseline of rushing numbers, usually that is a massive helper in getting your quarterback in the top 10 for the week. Now let's go over the running back position. You want a running back who will touch the football as much as possible, and you need to ask yourself,
can my running back get at least 14 touches this week?
Right. Yeah, even if that is 10 carries and 4 receptions, that is good enough to get the job done. Next, let's start to look for a high yardage floor. Ask yourself,
can my running back have at least 75 total yards this week?
If your running back isn't able to achieve 75 yards between rushing and receiving, he really doesn't belong in your lineup. Now, lastly, let's look for a high yardage ceiling, and you definitely have to ask yourself,
can my running back get to 120 total yards this week?
These are the running backs that you need to consider a gem and a staple to your team. Looking for those backs with a massive ceiling can make your week look easy against any opponent. Now it's time to look at the wide receiver position, and you want a wide receiver who is involved in the game plan. I mean, Mr. Football, what you should ask yourself here?
Will my wide receiver be targeted at least 7 times this week?
Right, like having 7+ targets in a given week assures that he's your main player within the offense and can open up opportunities for you to score more fantasy points. Next, let's start looking for that high receiving yardage floor. You need to ask yourself,
can my wide receiver have at least 75 yards receiving this week?
If your wide receivers in your lineup check the boxes of number 1 and number 2, then you are in business. Consistent players are key to victory on a weekly basis. Lastly, look for a high receiving yard ceiling. You need to ask yourself,
can my wide receiver get to 120 yards receiving this week?
Right, now this would constitute as a boom type of player, having at least one wide receiver who can hit the 120 yard mark any given week makes your life easier. So,
excuse me, Mr. Bengal, sir?
Yes, Mr. Football?
I just want to remind everyone to smash that like button, as I'm sure you would appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I would appreciate it. I mean, thank you.
You're welcome. You can get on with your video now.
Right. Okay, now let's just go over the tight end position. If you want a tight end who is consistently being looked at within the offense, you have to ask yourself,
will my tight end be targeted at least 5 times this week?
The tight end position is dog water, so finding the ones that consistently receive 5+ targets should be considered a gold mine in fantasy football. Next, let's start looking for a high receiving yardage floor. You should definitely ask yourself, what, Mr. Football?
Can my tight end have at least 50 yards receiving this week?
Exactly. It's not hard to get into the top 12 tight end conversation, and 50 yards a game will help you get there. Having this safe floor on a weekly basis is a no-brainer. Lastly, look for a high receiving yard ceiling. Just ask yourself,
can my tight end get to 100 yards receiving this week?
Not many tight ends can reach this milestone consistently, so when you find that unicorn, you need to nail it down. Now that we have the individual positions locked down, it's time to focus on injuries. Not only the injuries to your specific players, but also injuries on the defense that they will be playing. If you're playing a number one wide receiver for a team and the opponent's number one corner is injured and out for the game, this means the number two cornerback should be on him, which in theory should be an easier time for your wide receiver, so your projected outcome should be higher. If your quarterback is playing a defense that is missing a couple of players in the secondary and their middle linebacker may also not be playing, that is all a plus for you this week and etc. Right? I mean, start looking at injuries if you want to improve. Now let's dive into the offensive game plans, right? Look at the positional ranks of defenses to see where you may have an advantage. For example, if a quarterback is going against the second best defense against opposing quarterbacks, and your other quarterback is going against the 28th best defense against opposing quarterbacks, then maybe you need to consider playing the quarterback going against the worst defense against the position, so long the two quarterbacks that you have are around the same tier player. By no means am I saying that you sit a stud to start a mediocre at best quarterback, so don't hear what I'm not saying. I mean, are you smelling what I'm stepping in here? If the run defense for a team is cock-a-doodle, but their pass defense is a top 5 defense, then maybe try to start the running backs from your team that's going against the defense that is cock-a-doodle, right? Start those running backs. And just let me add a small caveat here about weather. This doesn't always come in effect, but there is a lot of dome games, right? But you have to be on the lookout for the rain or the snow in certain games. If you know there is a heavy rain or snow, they will be more likely to be using the run game way more than the pass game. You should be able to adjust accordingly. Try to stay away from quarterbacks and wide receivers in rain or snow, because in those games, right, you can really try to only play the running backs and the tight ends because the game plan is going to dictate towards them more than the passing game with the quarterbacks and the wide receivers. Always start your studs, but for the middle of the pack guys, you're going to need to be able to bench them when needed based on weather. Now that I have some information out there for you, let's go over categories of what floors and ceilings can give you. A low floor and a high ceiling profiles as a boom or bust player. This is a great flex play each week. A high floor and a low ceiling profiles as a consistent player. This is what you need to make the majority of your starting lineup. A high floor and a high ceiling profiles as a stud. Now you need to try to have as many of these players as possible. The more players who profile like this, the easier it is for you to win a championship. Now a low floor and a low ceiling profiles as an avoidable player. You want to stay away from these types of players for your team. I would like to play a game here, right? And just involving all of the things that I've went over so far today, and then you tell me which player you would start. In this example, we're going to try to decide which tight end to start this week. So tight end number 1 is going up against a defense that is giving up 400 yards passing a game, and tight end number 2 is going up against a defense that is giving up 350 yards passing. So with this information, who would you start? Are there questions that you would like to ask before making your decision? Write it down and let's continue. Tight end 1 is playing in a dome, and tight end 2 is playing in light rain. Does this change your opinion at all? Write it down and let's continue. As you dive deeper into the numbers, tight end 1 is going up against a defense that gives up 400 passing yards a game. Now, out of those 400 yards passing, 325 of those yards goes to wide receivers, 50 of those yards go to tight ends, and 25 of those yards goes to running backs. Tight end 2 is going up against a defense that gives up 350 yards passing a game. Now, out of those 350 yards passing, 175 of those yards go to wide receivers. 150 of those yards go to tight ends, and 25 of those yards goes to running backs. Now, instead of just going off of what we saw at the beginning, we dove a little bit deeper and came out with the correct answer, considering both of these running backs are in the same tier. Tight end 2 is clearly the right choice. And just a sidebar right here, just as far as the weather goes, that was almost a wash, just to let you guys know, right? A tight end in the rain is usually targeted more than wide receivers because of slippery footballs to create those dink and dunk type of game plans, which usually favors the tight end position. So a tight end in the rain and a tight end in a dome game is nearly the same thing. That was a complete wash. Now that was a lot of information that we were able to go over, but if you're able to take each piece of this video and apply it to your fantasy football game, you will no doubt be able to set the perfect lineup each and every week. That way you can dominate your league. Guys, make sure you guys are smashing that subscribe button. Helps out the channel a lot. We're pumping out tons of videos all year round to help you win championships year after year. Doesn't matter if you're playing Dynasty, Redraft, you're playing Best Ball. It doesn't matter what you're playing. We're here to help you at the Bayou Bingo Fantasy Network. So do yourself a favor, smash that subscribe button. And I can't wait to see all of y'all on the next video. We'll see you guys next time.